Long before it became a symbol of Hollywood glamour, tech innovation, and sunshine dreams, California was home to over 100 distinct Native American tribes. Groups like the Chumash, Miwok, Ohlone, Yokuts, Pomo, and Maidu thrived across the state's valleys, coasts, deserts, and mountains for thousands of years. They developed sophisticated trade networks, basket-weaving techniques, astronomical knowledge, and spiritual systems deeply connected to nature. In 1542, Portuguese explorer Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, sailing under the Spanish flag, became the first European to set foot on California soil. Though he explored parts of the coast, no permanent settlement followed. It wasn't until 1769 that Spain began colonizing the area with the establishment of missions, presidios, and pueblos. Father Junipero Serra led the mission movement, starting in San Diego and eventually stretching 21 missions up the coast to Sonoma. These institutions aimed to convert native populations to Catholicism and integrate them into colonial society. While they brought European farming and architecture, they also caused widespread disease, cultural disruption, and forced labor for indigenous people. By the early 1800s, California had transitioned from Spanish to Mexican rule after Mexico's independence in 1821. The mission system was secularized, and large land grants created vast ranchos, fostering a cattle-based economy. This period saw the rise of the California elite, wealthy landowners of Spanish-Mexican descent. However, indigenous communities continued to be marginalized, enslaved, or pushed off ancestral lands. The native population, which once numbered in the hundreds of thousands, declined drastically due to disease, displacement, and violence. In 1846, amid rising American interest and migration, settlers in Sonoma launched the Bear Flag Revolt, declaring California an independent republic. Just weeks later, during the Mexican-American War, U.S. forces took control of the region. The war ended in 1848 with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which ceded California and much of the Southwest to the United States. That same year, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill, triggering the infamous gold rush. By 1849, more than 300,000 fortune seekers, known as 49ers, flooded into California. Mining towns sprung up overnight, and San Francisco transformed from a small village to a booming city. In 1850, California was fast-tracked to statehood as the 31st U.S. state. The gold rush brought immense wealth, but also lawlessness, racial tension, and environmental destruction. Native Americans were massacred, driven from their lands, or enslaved by miners. Laws such as the foreign miners' tax targeted Chinese and Latin American miners, while vigilante violence ran rampant. Environmental impacts from hydraulic mining devastated rivers and landscapes, effects still visible today. As the state developed, the 1860s and 70s saw the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, linking California with the eastern U.S. This accelerated trade, migration, and agricultural exports. In the South, the citrus industry boomed, promoting the California dream nationwide. Waves of immigrants from China, Japan, Italy, and the Dust Bowl-stricken Midwest arrived to work in agriculture, railroads, and industry. Anti-Chinese sentiment escalated, culminating in the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the first federal law banning immigration based on nationality. The early 20th century brought major events that reshaped California. In 1906, a massive earthquake and fire destroyed much of San Francisco, leading to new urban planning. Meanwhile, Los Angeles began constructing an ambitious water supply system, leading to the controversial diversion of water from the Owens Valley and the growth of the LA metro region. By the 1920s and 30s, Hollywood had become the epicenter of global filmmaking. At the same time, California enforced racially exclusionary laws, such as the Alien Land Laws, that targeted Japanese immigrants, and it maintained segregated neighborhoods and schools well into the mid-20th century. The Great Depression hit California hard, but New Deal programs brought public works projects and reshaped infrastructure statewide. World War II brought industrial expansion, shipbuilding in the Bay Area, airplane manufacturing in Southern California, and military bases throughout the state. The war effort drew workers from across the country, including African Americans fleeing Jim Crow laws in the South. However, it also led to the internment of more than 110,000 Japanese Americans, most of whom lived in California. Post-war resentment over job competition further complicated racial dynamics in cities like Los Angeles and Oakland. Post-war California experienced explosive growth. Suburbs, highways, and universities expanded rapidly. The GI Bill, aerospace jobs, and low-cost housing transformed the state into a middle-class utopia for many. At the same time, restrictive covenants, redlining, and police violence fueled racial inequality and resistance. Migrant farm workers, many of them Mexican or Filipino, faced exploitation and launched powerful labor movements led by figures like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. The 1960s and 70s solidified California's identity as a cultural vanguard. The free speech movement at UC Berkeley, the Black Panther Party in Oakland, the Chicano movement in East LA, and the LGBTQ+ movement in San Francisco reshaped American civil rights. The state also pioneered environmental legislation and car emission standards. Earth Day, founded in 1970, was largely inspired by environmental movements brewing in California. In the 1980s and 90s, Silicon Valley rose from orchards to become the nerve center of global technology. Startups like Apple, Google, and Facebook were born in garages and dorm rooms, turning the Bay Area into the epicenter of the digital revolution. Meanwhile, the Central Valley remained an agricultural giant, feeding not only California, but much of the country and world. At the same time, California faced crises: economic recessions, housing booms and busts, wildfires, droughts, and earthquakes. The 1992 LA riots exposed deep racial and economic tensions, while Proposition 187 in 1994, which targeted undocumented immigrants, sparked massive protests and a political shift toward greater Latino political empowerment. In the 21st century, California has remained both a model and a flashpoint. It leads in climate policy, entertainment, and innovation, yet grapples with homelessness, affordability, and water scarcity. Tech industry expansion has created unprecedented wealth and also deep inequality. With over 39 million residents, it's the most populous U.S. state and the fifth largest economy in the world. California's story is one of reinvention, contradiction, and ambition, a place of dreams and displacement, protest and progress. From native homelands and Spanish missions to Silicon Valley and social movements, California continues to shape and be shaped by the world around it.